Hi, you guys. Welcome back. My name is Carrie Penny. I am the Happy Crafty Homemaker, and today we are doing our next video in the Understanding Fiber series. Today we are going to be talking about mohair yarn. So for my samples here, I have one hank of hedgehog fiber kid silk lace. This is 50 grams, 420 meters, 70% kid mohair, 30% silk. And this is obviously a hand wash yarn. This is the colorway Beach Bunny. And then I also have as a sample here the Malbrigo mohair lace. This is 25 grams, 72% mohair, 28% silk. And this is the color Anniversario. And I have two of these. So as you can tell, this is a very fluffy fiber. Lots of halo, lots of texture, lots of floofs. So before I get started on this, I do want to say I think a lot of knitters in particular get very excited about mohair, and maybe it doesn't have to be in everything, although it is a fiber I really love. I love the texture that it adds to a project. If you are super sensitive to textures on your more delicate areas like the décolletage and chest area, you might not want to put mohair this close to the skin. While it is a very soft fiber. It's not like a, coarse fiber. The halo can be just a little tickly. So if you're super sensitive in this region, you might want to not have something very close bare here. Maybe a shirt under a sweater kind of thing. So mohair is a luxury fiber. So this will be the second luxury fiber we have now talked about. Third, if you include camel, although camel doesn't technically mark as a luxury on a lot of websites. I think it is, but so this comes from the Angora goat. Now we do have a little bit more of a history lesson with this one. So goat domestication began in the Neolithic era. So while not necessarily the Angora goat, we have as humans been domesticating goats for a very, very long time. They're likely one of the very first larger animals that we did domesticate. In 1400 BCE Egypt, the first known evidence of a long-hair goat was used for fiber. So once again, not necessarily the Angora goat, but we are already seeing goat fiber being used in textiles. The Western usage of mohair really wasn't super common until the 1800s between slow transport across Europe or Asia to Europe. Turkey also locked down mohair. They basically said, no, Spain, you got those Merino sheep and you ain't sharing, so we ain't going to share our mohair. So that's kind of how that went. And in the 1600s, for the first time, a large quantity of mohair fleece was sent into Western Europe for processing into textiles. No, they locked it down in the 1600s. It was the 1820s when they finally said, okay, you can have some now. That's what happened. So in the 1840s, South Africa started to cultivate Angora goats, and they are actually the largest producer now of mohair fiber. Angora goats, mohair fiber. The U.S. has also bred Angora goats. However, they are not as hardy for our plains. So there are some in Texas, and there was somewhere else that I saw mentioned as it wasn't Oklahoma, but it was anyway. They didn't take to our climate quite as well as they did to South Africa, but Angora goats are also bred in New Zealand and Australia as well. In the 1840s or 1893, South Africa had doubled the production of turkey as far as mohair fiber on the market. So that's a really quick history lesson. before that first large shipment of mohair into Western Europe, I did see a note where mohair really wasn't used for textiles before and during the lockdown from Turkey. It was used to make curlicues and textures in wigs because it is a very interestingly textured fiber. The locks are springy. They have a nice crimp to them. So the natural texture of the fleece, the locks off these goats, which I did pull a picture to show you these cute little scraggly guys. But the texture was used for wig production, not for textiles. Then Turkey locked it down, and then we started producing it for textiles in the 1800s. So the fiber. So this is actually going to be our shortest discussion of the fiber overall. The visual characteristics and texture of mohair are generally what most people are looking for. It is a singular fiber as far as what you're going to get in creating this super fine yarn with this fluffy, super fluffy texture to it. It is a very smooth individual fiber hair, small scales, and it does not felt very easily. The scales are very underproduced. They're very short. So the overlapping scales don't grip to create that felting material we talked about in wools versus superwash wools. It does also take color incredibly well. So it is a nice little addition to create a pop of texture and a pop of color into a project, whether you're working the entire project with a mohair as a carry along or it's blended into the fiber you're using. It does just give that little extra zing to your final projects. It has a longer staple length. It pills less than other wools, and it is actually tensile strength. It is a very strong fiber. It has a huge spread on the micron count from between the ages of the goats. So the micron count can range from 22 to 36 microns. The Australian grading system is incredibly detailed, from age of goat to staple length to the micron count. So they're the only ones that I saw their grading system listed online. There were a couple other places that said if you wanted the grading system, you have to be a member of an association, and I'm not joining an association to talk about how much I love yarn and fiber. So they actually have it graded on where the wool comes from, the age of the animal that it comes from, and they also have a range on what the anticipated micron count should be from those two numbers as well. Most spun or locks for spinning are between 28 and 32 microns. So technically, this is one of the more coarser fibers we're talking about, but at the same time, it's one of the more fine fibers we're talking about too, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I've used mohair quite a bit. I've used quite a few mohair blends, synthetic mohairs, as well as natural mohairs. As I said, from experience, I would not necessarily wear this. I have a particularly tickle sensitive décolletage. I would not put it on my bare chest and neck, just all willy-nilly. I am also in a very humid climate. My skin gets very tacky, and that floofs tends to really get stuck to my skin. It's a little bit easier to see it on the darker color here. So that will add to like ticklage. It's not an itchy fiber. This isn't like, oh, I can't have this next to my skin because it's prickly and itchy wool. It is texturally very tickly to me. So I do recommend having, a protective layer between you and the mohair fiber there. I do love the way it takes color. A lot of the time with the natural mohair, I do see it paired with silk, which is another higher tensile strength fiber. I think it's just absolutely gorgeous. It just adds like a little into it. The spinning sites that we're talking about using mohair as far as spinning, there were so many different tips and tricks to working with mohair. I literally would have had, my hand would have been totally cramped up if I had tried to write down all the tips and tricks. The fold over method draft and blending it with another wool was one of the recommendations that I saw. Somebody else said they prefer working with the locks, combed carded locks, and just adding it in a combination of wool and either a silk or a brushed bamboo fiber. So there, as far as spinning this into a yarn, if you are a spinner, there seems to be like a huge range on how people prefer to deal with this, because it has a long staple length. So drafting it is really not a problem, because it just goes and goes and goes and goes, and you can draft without, losing it. But to create softness and something that's going to create bulk without adding density to the yarn seems to be one of the goals of a lot of the spinners that have different methods for coming up with that. So I generally see this used as a carry along yarn. I have seen a number of accessories specifically using the lace and fingering weight to make very thin, drapey, veil-y type garments. I have seen some wedding veils, mantillas, chapel veils, things like that made just from the lace weight mohair. So there's a huge different variety of things that you can do from using the lace weight as far as what you can make. I also really enjoy just seeing that little bit of extra whew in some of the DK sport weight yarns. I'm not a massive fan of anything beyond sport and DK weight with it, just because I think I I prefer, this is Carrie preference. I prefer the delicacy of the yarn and the floof kind of being on display. When you start pairing it with size 4 yarns, bulky yarns, chunky yarns and stuff, that floof kind of gets absorbed by the other yarn and fiber. And the amount that you would need to, say, do a 75-25 blend in a worsted weight, your yarn's just going to be unmanageable. So obviously this does not have a very high stitch definition, although as a carry along, I have, and I do have seen people using it in a light lace pattern, but not generally a textured pattern. Even in the light lace patterns, depending on the floof to your mohair, you could actually lose about 60% of the lace pattern. So I would recommend, this is definitely one of those let the yarn do the work for you type yarns, and keep it simple with the pattern and the pattern texture. So I love it though. I do think I think as knitters, we tend to overuse it quite a bit. It doesn't have to be everywhere all the time. You can make a sweater without mohair in it, but that doesn't mean I don't love it. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I've had a number of mohair sweaters over the years, and there's just nothing quite like the poofy cloud effect of mohair. And this is what, our 4th animal now we've talked about wool. We've had sheep wool, we've had camel, we've had yak, and now we have goat. I told you at the beginning of this series, there are tons of different things. We've still got more animals left to go too. So anyway, I love you guys. I hope you are having a wonderful, fantastic day. I'm going to keep it simple. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Also, what's your favorite project to add some mohair to? Do you do it as a carry along with the lace weight, or do you look for a larger yarn that has some mohair in it? Have you spun mohair? Let me know. I want the deets. I love you, and I'll see you real soon. Bye, you guys.